Welcome to our webinar this afternoon, Creating Business Harmony, the Integration of ERP, EPM, and BI. My name is Tom Weaver. I'm an Oracle Account Director at MarketSphere, and I'm serving as our host today. MarketSphere is an Oracle Platinum partner, a key contributor on Oracle's Partner Advisory Council, and has proven itself as a leader in Oracle solutions across the Enterprise Performance Management, BI, and ERP suite of applications. I'm happy to have Carl Yost, partner at MarketSphere, leading our presentation today. Carl?
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for everyone joining this afternoon. Today, what we're going to do is really get into some pretty special research we've done over the last year around this concept of business harmony. And I think, first and foremost, I've had 15 years of experience in this profession, and I've spent a lot of time working with a number of organizations around concepts in ERP, business intelligence, and enterprise performance management. I am the managing partner of our enterprise performance management group, but I think what we hope to do today is really represent the views and beliefs of all of MarketSphere in terms of a really strong, I think, focused effort to try to bring some very significant thought leadership in the concept of creating business harmony through the integration of three platforms: ERP, business intelligence, or BI, and enterprise performance management, or EPM. So let's talk a little bit about the history and how we got here. So the interesting part of kind of our professional service organization and really a number of clients is we got to a situation where there were several clients that were very, very strong in ERP, very, very strong in business intelligence, or very strong in enterprise performance management, or the old Hyperion platform. What we found is that we didn't find very many clients that were actually good at all of three of these things at the same time. What we also found was that there weren't that many professional service firms that were really dedicated to serving the needs of integrating these three critical platforms together in a way that makes really the entire business process more transformative and more seamless in an organization. So what we found from a history perspective is basically Oracle, as you were aware, got through the integration of these through several acquisitions and has really done a nice job of seamlessly putting these together in the last few years. But in doing so, what we found was also that there really wasn't one place to go for thought leadership and how all of these areas work together. And today what we're hoping to do is really share with you some small part of our belief system in terms of how these three critical components to your business transformation efforts really fit together. And that's really the concept of harmony. So what we're going to do is really go over 5 critical concepts. And in doing so, what we're looking to do is really show an integration between not only ERP and business intelligence enterprise performance management platforms, but how they work together to really drive some very simple concepts within your organization. Let me start with the first one. One certified, secured view of data. Now, I will tell you that this is definitely an often overused synonym and analogy. Obviously, what you see on the slide here is there's been a number of people that have tried to do data marts, siloed sources, data warehousing, and a lot of those things are excellent and something we found to be exceptional. But one of the things that we really start to see in terms of successful new approaches is really centering around an enterprise BI platform that goes across all subject areas, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later today. But I think the main theme around one certified, secured view of data, first is this concept of certified. It doesn't mean that it's in a single place. And second is this concept of metadata repository. Now, it sounds like a technical term, but I will assure you that it's becoming one of the most important things that we do to bring harmony to the ERP, BI, and EPM platforms. The concept is that basically what we want to do is we want to manage the hierarchies in these platforms together in one place and to be able to deploy changes seamlessly throughout the enterprise. Let me give you a specific example. So if you have a set of products or a set of customers or a set of accounts, what we're looking to do, and you own PeopleSoft and Hyperion, and you have the OBI applications, what we're looking to do is basically manage that set of hierarchies in one place and have a data governance model in place that allows us to deploy any changes in this entire enterprise once and very seamlessly throughout each one of these areas. So our first core component of driving business harmony is the concept of certifying and allowing a secured view of data. MarketSphere's perspective is that you have to move towards a model of a metadata repository that allows the data model to be agnostic and really builds consistency and obviously the overused term of one version of the truth. Let's look at this from an Oracle perspective. Oracle has a product called DRM, or Data Relationship Management. But I think what our perspective is, and we love DRM, and we think it's a critical component to your overall architecture, but what we're really seeing in terms of you leveraging Harmony is to ensure that that solution is deployed throughout the enterprise, not just in the confines of an Oracle environment. That solution, when it's used in its best sense, is also used to manage the metadata of all applications across the enterprise, be it HR systems, supply chain systems, financial systems, and in a lot of cases, those are not necessarily just Oracle-only solutions. So what we're basically suggesting today is, I think the concept of metadata management is critical. We strongly recommend the use of Oracle's DRM solution. But what we've seen in terms of best practices is to truly extend that beyond the Oracle platform into the enterprise platform to ensure that you're creating harmony throughout the business. Let's talk about the second concept in relation to a case in point. So at Kendall is one of the world's largest clinical resource organizations. Basically, they run about 10,000 projects a year to do drug tests, to support basically a number of pharmaceutical companies in terms of their efforts of discovering new drugs. They have a very, very strong environment. They have basically an Oracle ERP system. They have Oracle Business Intelligence, and they have most of the Hyperion suite. But what we found, and the thing that was so interesting about Kendall, was they really started to have a significant impact on their business and a transformative impact on their business when they allowed these solutions to work together. So basically, Kendall is a 1,500 user solution that developed one certified secured view of data that eliminated basically the maintenance and reconciling of multiple versions in each one of these reporting platforms. And I think the interesting piece is this organization is very, very report-centric. As you can see on the screen, they run around 4,000 reports a cycle. And so they had a tremendous transformative process when they were allowed to bring harmony into their organization and really hook these applications together the right way. There are several on our website. You'll see a video from Kendall. Also, we've had a number of sessions with their executive team, and I think this is a great organization that if you haven't had a chance to hear Bill Hafer speak, I strongly encourage that throughout your professional development. Let's talk about the second component, connecting transactional detail to the enterprise layer. So what we found today is that there are a number of solutions out there that do a fantastic job of providing detailed transaction information. And obviously with the improvement of business intelligence and enterprise performance management, we've seen exceptional solutions developed to bring profitability and consolidations and planning. But I will tell you the core component for us, the thing that we're seeing as the number two thing in terms of bringing harmony to a business, is really the ability to connect the transactional detail, so that the key elements that clients are looking for in terms of sales order information, profitability, headcount, to the enterprise layer, or traditionally what is known as the enterprise performance management layer. So fundamentally, the thing that I think is so important is that this really started in financials. So for several years, we've seen examples where people could drill through their enterprise performance layer and get a GL balance, or potentially even look at an invoice. the thing that I think is so important is we want to bring that concept across the enterprise now. And what we want to do is be able to drill through to inventory, to customers, to receivables, to working capital, DSO. So fundamentally, the thing that we're seeing in terms of the change that we want to see clients really adapt and transform is not only connecting their transactional detail to their financial systems, but really allowing that process to extend outside the enterprise of just financials and really extend into the other domain areas. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later as well. So let me give you a very specific example. Quest Diagnostics was basically on 20-year-old systems, but I think had a really, really specific vision in terms of where they were trying to head. A very global company in nature. You know, basically, as you can see, 1/3 of their tax department's time was really just spent on getting the information together in one place, in one spot. And so fundamentally, the thing that we saw, you know, with this organization, the thing that was so important was for them to link their enterprise performance management platforms, their chart of accounts, their ERP systems, their Hyperion systems, their planning and budgeting systems, and really drive to a thin general ledger development with IFRS capability, but extend basically a global enterprise reporting solution through Hyperion Essbase and through planning and the use of Oracle DRM into one common enterprise transaction system that allowed them to connect their transaction detail to their enterprise performance management layer. Very, very important. You saw a 50% reduction in terms of their development cost in this area. They were allowed to basically create a new chart of accounts that transformed their reporting of this business. At the same time, I think one of the most important things that Quest was able to do is really bring harmony together from a true analytics perspective. And one of the biggest challenges Quest had was their ability to really understand variances at a low enough level of detail around the world to really have an impact. And so if you have a chance to really look and examine the Quest story, I think fundamentally their biggest component was the connection of their variance analysis to the level of detail required to basically examine and explain and really make an impact on their business. Let's talk about number 3. Establishing an end-to-end foundation. So for those of you that haven't seen this graphic, I think it's exceptional. I mean, one of the things that we see is that all of our clients have mountains of information, oceans of systems, islands of data, just incredible, incredible complex environment. But one of the things we find when we have an organization that has these 3 components or is looking to move to them is the first question we ask our clients are, how do they make money? What is the core component that allows them to derive value in their enterprise? And for the case of Kendall that you saw referenced earlier, they are a project-driven organization. So when you ask Kendall how they make money on projects. It's so important to develop an end-to-end foundation analytics system that ties directly to the area in which our clients drive the most value and makes the most money. What we're basically trying to say is when we walk into clients, we have a very tough time finding clients that have built out an end-to-end transformative analytic platform in the very core of their business. So if they're a manufacturer, you know, when we walk into a client, we don't see as strong of manufacturing cost analysis that needs to be done. And so what we're basically suggesting is that every client, in order to have the Harmony platform achieved, needs to take their core competency, the thing that they make money in, and they need to transform the entire value chain of their analytics from beginning to end. A lot of clients actually start with financials and work back. I guess the point for us is that we need every aspect of data that's required for the end-to-end analytic platform. So in Quest's case, that was HR analytics, that was dealing with their subcontractor network, getting basically the research assistance. There was a number of things. But fundamentally, the thing that we're seeing is there's a lot of focus right now on analytic platforms and profitability. But what we want to see clients do is really extend that, link those together, and at least have one end-to-end foundation developed for their core competency. I think the most important thing that we're also seeing is the lack of integration back into CRM systems and supply chain systems. So once again, our research and the work that we've done with Oracle has told us that, there's so much strength right now in financial analysis. But what we don't have is really a linkage to CRM systems and to supply chain systems in an end-to-end financial kind of analytic model. Let me talk a little bit about kind of where we're headed from an architecture perspective. Oracle Fusion applications really are going to create a beautiful landscape kind of underneath the mountains. I think the most important piece, though, that we're seeing is that the enterprise layer from a business intelligence perspective and EPM perspective must be established prior to those Fusion applications really coming online. We think it's essential that clients really embark on a journey to ensure that they've got an end-to-end foundational element to their story and to their entire infrastructure. Let's talk about the fourth component. And I think this is probably the most important piece that we connect on today. The concept is basically the ability to enable cross-domain analysis. The principle of cross-domain analysis is that what's happened, especially within the Oracle environment, is they were created primarily in subject areas. So you had a subject area around supply chain, you had a subject area around HR, subject areas in financials, subject areas in manufacturing. What we're seeing is the need to basically, the ability to create analysis across those domains. So what you want to do is have profitability compared to headcount, margin in relation to inventory levels, cash flow in relation to DSO. And one of the most challenging things to do right now from an infrastructure perspective and an alignment perspective is to really bring the subject areas together that's required to do cross-domain analysis. And so this is the principle that's really built harmony. This is the thing that we're really trying to focus clients on today. And that concept is that we want them to get out of a single domain mindset, so out of financials. Because the reality is when you do financial analysis, a lot of clients are just tethered to what's in the general ledger. They don't have the systems, the integration to take advantage of all the investment they've made in these other areas. They have headcount analysis. They've got inventory turns. They have financial analysis. What they don't have is the ability to really analyze those things in combination with each other. And so fundamentally, MarketSphere has embarked on a very significant educational component within Oracle, with the clients, within our own organization, so that every single client can have the ability to take a look at working capital turnover in relation to headcount or payment terms in relation to vendors. So this key element called cross-domain analysis, we believe is the cornerstone to a lot of the platforms we're developing for our clients in the future. Once again, let me restate. There are a number of clients that do an exceptional job of financials, projects, supply chain, sales, human resources. What we really want to see, especially in the next couple of years, is their ability to have cross-domain analysis from finance to sales, from human resources to supply chain, from projects to supply chain. Very, very important that these architectures be developed to ensure that those things can happen, because that's really where the future of a lot of the analysis is and where it's headed. So let's talk about a little bit of how that actually gets done. Obviously, we've talked about the single enterprise information model. The most important thing that we believe is critical right now is the ability for an organization to really derive ERP analytics. Fundamentally, what we see is several clients struggle to get the basics out of their ERPs. And at the same time, there's also clients that are heavily invested in customer analytics or certainly looking to invest in that area, and those become very important parts as well. I think the most important thing, so you'll see a lot of clients that are really good at the top two, right? ERP Analytics, customer analytics. I think what we've seen is a significant trend towards industry analytics, and this is really where cross-domain analysis becomes essential. So when you're comparing industry analytics, and these the examples are specifically within financial services or healthcare, retail, those are the organizations that are certainly far ahead in terms of their use of industry analytics within their platform. But fundamentally what we're seeing is the need to create a foundation that not only links those three, but links those then with the performance management applications of an organization. So financial consolidations, industry analytics, customer analytics, and ERP analytics linked together. So this is basically the framework that we're looking to talk to clients about. Obviously, we talked earlier about the need for a really strong master data management structure and data governance, and as well as obviously the use of kind of the UI and the reporting capabilities. The one advantage we have with Oracle now is they've become so much stronger in their reporting capabilities with OBIEE and 11G and the fundamental Hyperion platforms, that those now become table stakes. Those are there for the taking. What's not there today in a lot of clients is the integration of these three things. So the example that we talked about, both Kendall and Quest, the interesting component that we found fascinating was in Kendall's case, one of the most important things they wanted to do was get their financial information, which in this case was GL, AR, and AP, integrated with their core business platform, which was projects. In this case, that's revenue, billing, and cost. And fundamentally, what they wanted to do was be able to budget and forecast in a cross-domain way from both financials and project information, and then most importantly, be able to do what they call their clinical trial and financials to expand their customer experience. Yes, there are overused terms like 360 degrees of analytics. You certainly heard that in the marketplace. But I think the most important piece to the Kendall story, the most relevant piece, not only from the component of their certified data source and some of the end-to-end analytics, but I think that the thing that was so important for them was this concept of cross-domain, because they needed to have their financials and their project information, but they added a new component to their analytics, which really changed the whole model, and that was the concept of their HR information. They had a significant investment in talent management, including headcount turnover and retention by business unit, and what they were able to do is really bring together the headcount analysis, the project analysis, and the financial analysis, and their ability to basically integrate cross-domain analysis into their environment. From Crest's perspective, the most important thing for them, a little different than Kendall, was they wanted to create cross-domain analysis, but they wanted to do that using a very, very strong chart of accounts design. So fundamentally what they did was they restructured their chart of accounts to take advantage of their new reporting layer, and then basically allowed the Oracle environment to create that new cross-domain analysis in the midst of an upgrade. So let me repeat that. What they did, which was a little bit, it's now become conventional, but was very interesting at the time, was they fundamentally put the upgrade of their solutions off by 6 months, built out the enterprise performance management layer, and leveraged basically cross-domain analysis and a new chart of accounts, and then upgraded basically into that environment, which they've now successfully completed. Most clients do the upgrade, then do a chart of accounts, and then focus on business reporting and cross-domain analysis. In their case, what they did is the reverse of that. They basically said, no, we want the analysis now. So they created their business intelligence layer to give them that analysis. Then they allowed basically a Harmony platform to integrate the ERP as it basically was upgraded over time. a really, really interesting story. All right, let's talk about one other concept, and that's the concept of really developing new analytic models. So there's really a couple of principles. Once you've got your foundation, once you have cross-domain analysis, what this allows you to do is really explore a totally different way to actually look at your business. There's really two fundamental areas we're seeing a significant amount of focus in today. One is the concept of balance sheet modeling. So basically, we have seen a significant resurgence in the need to forecast and analyze the balance sheet in a way that has never been done before. And so for us, when we have a client that actually has a Harmony solution, really strong ERP now, really strong business intelligence, and the use of an enterprise performance management layer, we can really start to get at balance sheet analysis that we never were able to do before. Obviously, a lot of focus on cash flow, a lot of focus on inventory and DSO and receivables. And I can't stress to you enough the focus that we've seen now in the last couple of years on balance sheet. The second component that we've found just is such strong demand now is also on cash flow. So fundamentally, the two elements we're seeing in terms of new analytic models that are coming out of Harmony platforms are, one, better balance sheet analysis and information, and the second is their ability to focus and really drive value through cash flow forecasting and cash flow analysis. Let me give you an example. We have a client that now has an enterprise performance management platform called Alcoa. They are a tremendous organization when it comes to analytics. But I think one of the most important elements that you're able to see with Alcoa isn't necessarily that they're first to close the books on the street using Hyperion HFM, and they obviously are a very strong EBS client, got all kinds of great analytics. But what we find fascinating is when they started to move out of the fundamental analysis and into balance sheet analysis, what you have in front of you is basically their AR and cash flow models that they created. And I think it's a little difficult to see, but what you'll see on the screen here is a worldwide platform, enterprise platform, that allows them to do things like key turnover, AR turnover, aging percentages, aging graphs. And this is not only at a corporate level, but at each single business unit, they were able to build basically an AR application that allowed them to analyze their AR basically on an hourly basis and really drive the kind of analytics and compare these things to inventory levels, to compare them to revenue, to compare them to all the other financial components that we've mentioned before. Just wanted to give you a real-life example of kind of where clients are headed with new analytic models. This is an exceptional model. And this is one where we, surprisingly, we just don't see that many clients, leveraging things like AR. You don't see that many AR applications out there in terms of analytic applications, which is one of the most important applications that clients probably need to have, especially if they're heavy manufacturing or in a heavy AR kind of model like Alcoa. So I think the interesting thing that comes from this kind of analysis is, in Alcoa's case, they've been very public on just the sheer amount of cash flow this kind of analysis has really brought them. In this case, over $130 million worth of improved cash flow, and derive basically an interest savings of almost 5%. So as you can see, this is a client with 100,000 employees, 40 business units, 34 countries. But through the use of Harmony, through the use of basically these kind of analytic platforms, we're able to integrate these components together to bring cross-domain analysis in a certified data source and really draw out the level of detail, the transactional level detail that's there with the high-level enterprise view that's required for their business. All right, so where do you start? One of the things that we found is, our Harmony optimization focus has really been, it's really interesting in terms of the kind of places that organizations traditionally start. fundamentally what we're seeing in the marketplace today now is that most clients are very, very strong in one of these three areas, in either ERP, BI, or EPM. And so fundamentally what we know to be true, though, for sure, is the place to start, the thing that's so important, is that you have to have strong ERP analytics. That's number one in terms of our view of how do you improve collaboration. Because a lot of clients are looking to get to a different level of detail. They're really trying to bring visibility and transformation and just all flexibility to the level of detail that's in their ERP environments. But I think there's a couple of things that we see from an value perspective that we want to kind of point out. One is that a Harmony platform, clearly I think you can see, produces better, faster decision making. And I think, but I think most importantly, the thing that we've seen from our research says that it does two things. Number one, it reduces job dissatisfaction. There is a significant amount of challenge if you don't have these three platforms really connected together appropriately. There's a lot of rework. There's clearly a lot of errors. And one of the biggest challenges that we're seeing right now at clients is just people just aren't having fun using these solutions. The second thing that we've seen is that it really does create synergy between the IT organization and the business units. If you have an integrated platform that's leveraging all three of these, very rarely do you have the kind of challenges that we're seeing at other organizations that really haven't found a way to link these things together, to work together better. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today is just the softer side of the value of this solution. Isn't just the analytics. One of the things we found is it really has improved people's experience in terms of leveraging Oracle platforms and technology, and also it's really changed the dimension and just the dynamics of the relationships within organizations. Basically, what we have in front of you is kind of our optimal reporting environment that we've established. So from our perspective, MarketSpare's perspective, this is the Harmony chart that we kind of want clients to kind of connect on. First of all, you're going to have operation systems on the left. And obviously, almost all of our clients have either a single ERP or multiple ERPs. So, clearly that's the challenge that most of us are living in today. What we want to see is we want to see a DRM, or data relationship management layer, established along with a BI warehouse layer. And we want that to basically, we want the operational systems and ERP systems to feed into that, and then out to basically the enterprise performance management layer, which includes tools like FDM, EPMA, and then as you can see here, we are a strong believer in leveraging HFM for closing consolidations, to leveraging planning for strategic, financial, and forecast, having S-Base as a core component to your analytic arsenal, and then ultimately having OBIE as the core reporting layer on top of that foundational platform. So for us, in order for us to really get what we call the decision zone, we need BI applications kind of supported from the warehouse. We need OBIE and S-Base really that sit on top of a very strong enterprise performance management layer of HFM and planning and disclosure management. And all of these things basically need to kind of work together. So this is the area and this is the challenge that we have for everybody on the phone today, is as they look at this picture, what is your picture? How do these things work together? What don't you have? Because fundamentally, we don't believe that any client should not have one of these pieces. We think every single piece to this puzzle is instrumental in terms of creating harmony across the applications. So we don't believe that you can create harmony without a BI layer, without DRM, without S-Base for analytics, without OBIE, without a dedicated planning application, without a dedicated closing consolidation system, without a really strong ERP system that allows for strong operational reporting. So anyway, fundamentally, that's the environment that we're looking to create for clients. In terms of starting, I think one of the things that we're finding critical, obviously, the traditional, optimize current applications and assess kind of the analytic needs of the organization. But I think one of the things we're also starting to do in combination with Oracle is really try to get clients in a pre-fusion mindset that says they know where they want to go from an analytics perspective, and then we lay out a roadmap for them that allows them to improve their business intelligence or ERP or EPM platforms in order to take advantage of where Oracle's headed from a fusion architecture perspective. So basically, from our perspective in terms of where we start, we think that it's essential for clients to take advantage and become excellent in each one of these platform areas. And more importantly, do that in ensuring that all of them link together in one story and one solution. Obviously, from a next generation perspective, one of the things that we're looking to do is develop future flexibility in terms of optimization and ultimately reducing IT and sourcing costs. We think that's certainly a part of this. But I think that what we're thinking right now, at least as we stand today, there's really two components. First thing where we start is we try to optimize and ensure that each component is really carrying its weight. So how strong a client is in their ERP applications and their use and their analytics, how strong or full are their business intelligence capabilities, and then how do they take advantage of their enterprise performance management platforms, and then through the use of their analytic needs, then how do those things hang together that give them the cross-domain analysis and the analytic modeling that they're looking for. So what we'd like to do now is I turn it back over to Tom for questions. We've got about 10 minutes to take some questions here. Tom?
Great. Thanks, Carl. And to ask questions, as some of you have, please submit them over in the chat box and send it to all panelists over on the right-hand side of your screen. Carl, we'll go to the questions as people look at some of the things that we have upcoming at Open World, but it kind of relates back to the how and where to start. So how dependent is a master data management project needed before building out a Harmony solution? They ask if you can give a high-level kind of pre-work necessary to normalize data across various applications and databases to standardize the reporting within a Harmony solution.
Yeah, so I think basically what we're finding is the pre-work isn't necessarily as important on the data side as it is on defining what analytics, so what are the hierarchies, what are the requirements from a future hierarchy perspective? Because what we found is a lot of clients are spending, an inordinate amount of time on trying to get their data right, when fundamentally they don't have their hierarchies right. They haven't spent the time in the pre-work area in getting the hierarchies defined and their ability to manage those hierarchies across all of their platforms. So basically, the one thing that I think is critical is what we do in our environments with our clients is what we're looking to do is define the 2 or 3 core dimensions that we need to manage across the enterprise. In a lot of cases, that's going to be accounts, customers, and products. Those 3 things, along with department in some cases, depending on the client. So fundamentally, to get started on the pre-work, what we're looking for are clients to basically really work hard on defining how they want to measure and manage those 4 dimensions. Once again, accounts, customers, products, and departments. That's probably the best pre-work that clients can do in prepping for, an NDM project and a Harmony solution. Next question.
Yeah, just really a follow-on to that one. Can Oracle, the master data management or data relationship management in this case, can it manage non-Oracle tools such as Lawson or Teradata?
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting components is that when this product was developed, it was developed completely agnostic of technology. And so while there are some accelerators to the Oracle solutions, almost all of our clients are using this solution to manage non-Oracle environments such as Teradata and Lawson, certainly Teradata in almost all the cases in which it's there. We're using MDM and DRM to do that. I can't stress to you enough, that's really what those applications are developed for. They're not developed as a single Oracle solution. They are developed to basically allow you to manage your master data management across the enterprise and through multiple, general ledgers, multiple ERP systems, business intelligence systems, and the like.
All right. Carl, this is a question that goes back to when you were talking about Quest as one of the examples, and it's more on the ERP side. Did they have one or multiple general ledgers?
So, interesting environment, moving towards one, but basically kind of a global environment. And with a lot of our clients, what we're seeing is that they have one strong ERP system for the core business, and then they have smaller ERP systems for their international or acquired operations. So that was basically the case with Quest. And what we found, it wasn't just the story about trying to move a client onto a single ERP platform, because in their case, that was going to be a journey that was going to be a multi-year endeavor. So to answer your question directly, and by the way, we've got lots of information on Quest and all the details and everything on our website. So I'd basically ask the person that asked the question to go to our website and get more information on this. But yes, in almost all cases, that most of our clients are going to be, multi-source general GLs. Now, the reality is, in a lot of cases, those are going to be within a single environment. So there may be multiple instances of PeopleSoft or, eBusiness Suite. And obviously, we believe very strongly in getting to one common platform, one ERP environment. The reality is that, that's a journey that a lot of clients are certainly embarking on, but very few clients are there, especially with the acquisitive nature of today's business world. So what we're seeing is basically the need to create these harmony solutions to take advantage of not only the strong ERP platforms they have, but through their acquired entities and the use of basically these tools to give them the kind of information they need today.
All right. Next question relates more to the front end. Do you need to use OBIEE, or can other products be used?
From our perspective, if you are an Oracle ERP shop that has an investment in enterprise performance management and really wants the harmony vision, MarketServe's perspective is that OBIEE is essential. And so I want to answer that question in two ways. Fundamentally, to take the biggest advantage of Oracle's investment, especially in the future, we believe that OBIEE is the linchpin, is the corner, is basically the Rosetta Stone to a lot of the future for these platform transformations. And so while other tools can be leveraged, the fact that Oracle has invested as much as they have, and the solution is such a strong solution now, especially with 11G and mobile analytics and all the other areas that they have with OBIEE and their packaged analytics, we fundamentally have a very strong point of view here. And that says that most clients will be sub-optimized if they don't leverage OBIEE into their platform. Now, we have clients that have the need for a Teradata solution, for example, on the consumer side. So we're not suggesting necessarily that there aren't other databases that can be used in conjunction with this. But if you're talking about integrating GL transactions, EPM transactions, and BI, that all happens, and that fundamentally, especially in the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to happen in the OBIEE layer. That is where Oracle's headed from a reporting platform perspective. We're going to be meeting with that entire product development team on the Friday of Open World after everybody's had a chance to kind of go through and have all their conversations, because this is an area of very extreme focus for our firm and for Oracle right now. And we're really looking to do a lot more education on the importance of OBIEE within reporting environment, kind of where it works, how it works with the other applications, how you can set OBIEE on top of Essbase and planning and some of the other areas. Other questions?
No, I think that's the last series of questions we're going to cover in the time that we have today. But what I'd like to refer to is back to what you're saying. For people interested in more information, they can certainly go to our website, read the white papers, on Quest and Kendall, see client videos, and then as we look at forward at Open World coming up in a couple weeks, these are some of the breakout sessions that our clients are leading. So several places for people to get more information, and take advantage of how other people have moved forward, with their Harmony, Oracle platform solution.
Yeah, and I think, Tom, if you allow me to end on this, I think the thing that's so important today is, what we want clients to do now is, we have a client that will come and ask us about a Hyperion question that's on a PeopleSoft GL. And one of the things we're just trying to get clients to do is really say, you mean you have a Hyperion and PeopleSoft question, right? It's really how do those things work together? Or how does OBIE and BI applications support, an S-based application, for example? Because we have a lot of folks who have really, really strong investments in S-based. But what they don't necessarily have is the strong GL analytics or inventory analytics that come from OBIE and some of the packaged analytics that Oracle's invested in. So I guess the main theme of today, the thing, if you take nothing else out of it, is that we really want every one of your single issues, as you kind of create, or overcome issues in ERP or BI, we really want you to start to ask, how could the EPM layer help this? How could BI help this? How could PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, eBusiness help this problem? Because what happens today is that we have a single set of expertise. We have a Hyperion set of expertise that knows nothing about PeopleSoft. We have an EBS expertise that knows nothing about the business intelligence applications. We have BI application developers that know nothing about planning or JD Edwards. And so fundamentally, we're just trying to that's where this concept of cross-domain is so important. We've got to get the expertise spread across the domains. We can't just have a Hyperion expert and a general ledger expert that don't talk to each other, don't know anything about how each one of the environments work. We've got to bring these things together. So I just leave everybody with that. That's really fundamentally where we're trying to head with this analysis and with this platform, because we just don't see the kind of intellectual curiosity around integrating these platforms that we want to see for the future of basically these businesses. And I'd also like to thank all of you for attending today, and certainly we look forward to seeing you in a future opportunity. Thanks again.
Yes, and please look for an email with a link to the recorded session that we have today. That will be coming out to you next week. And yes, thanks everyone for joining us today.